Hi, everyone. It's Tessa.
And Joe.
From the Unveiling Paradise podcast.
Tessa, summer is almost here, and so many of our listeners are about to have their epic destination wedding.
And we are so excited for you guys.
Before the big day, guys, we want you to make sure you listen to these 3 episodes.
Episode 62, Deep Diving Your Wedding Ceremony.
Episode 53, Questions Your Wedding Guests Will Ask.
And episode 31, the final countdown to your wedding day.
And if you're planning your wedding here in Hawaii, hit us up and ask us about our Unveiling Paradise podcast promo.
Happy planning. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Unveiling Paradise podcast. Hey, Joe.
Hey, what's up, Tessa?
I'm doing really, really well today. How about you?
Pretty good.
Well, I'm sorry your day is not as awesome as mine, but I am really excited for today.
Pretty good means awesome in my world. So, hi.
Oh, well, good job then. I'm happy for you. So today I have a big topic that I want to talk about. Big feelings, big topic. Are you ready?
I am totally ready. Okay, what do we got going on?
Okay, so I want to talk about the most stressful part of the wedding planning. Do you know when that is?
I would guess like the very final days leading up to your wedding.
I feel like you're reading my show notes.
I actually am.
You know what? That's amazing. Thank you for reading it. And you are correct. It really is kind of those final days, the week before your wedding. And do you know why? Don't read the show notes. You just have to guess.
Because it's stressful. You're trying to make sure that every perfect detail comes together for your wedding day.
Exactly. So there's all of those last minute decisions to make, like guests are dropping out. You have final counts due to vendors. You have payments due. Family and friends are arriving that want to hang out with you, but you don't want to hang out with them yet because you're still trying to get your stuff done. And on top of all of that, the weather. The weather also adds stress, right?
And family. Family always adds stress. And your wedding coordinator. Your wedding coordinator will absolutely stress you out.
That's fair. It's a lot for anyone, right? So we are stressing them out with due dates. Your wedding planner is up in your face getting final answers. And guess what I did to add more stress? We have a couple who is getting married this weekend. I made them come in today and talk with us about all the stress.
Yeah, can you believe this? This is amazing. So we have Arlynne and Edward. Their wedding is coming up. Is this Saturday? I hope I have it on my calendar correctly.
You better. Don't add more stress. I've already done this for them.
Okay, so if they weren't stressed out before, they are definitely stressed out now because we are going to interview them on our show the week of their wedding. I think it's a crazy idea. I'm so happy you guys decided to join us. Arlynne and Edward, welcome to the show. Let's hear from you guys. Introduce yourselves to all our listeners. And where are you at in the final countdown to your wedding?
I'm Arlynne.
Oh, and I'm Edward.
And we are 3-4 days out from the wedding, which is on Saturday. And it's going to be at Lanikuhonua, Phase 1.
So how in the world did Tessa convince you guys to be on our show like 4 days before your wedding?
I think she just texted us randomly, and Edward and I looked at each other and were like, yeah, why not?
So welcome to the show, guys. Before we get started, can we just take a quick pause and get to know a little bit about you guys? How did you meet? How did you come up to this idea of having your wedding here in Hawaii?
Yeah. So Edward and I met in college. So that was, 12, 13 years ago at this point. And yeah, we started dating in college, and kind of off the bat, we knew that if anything was going to happen wedding-wise, it would happen here because I grew up here. I grew up on the leeward side of Oahu. A lot of my family is here, so that's why we decided to have the wedding here.
When did you know he was the one? And when did you know she was the one?
Oh, this is fun. This is actually the subject of my vows.
Don't give away too much. Don't give away too much.
What I love about these two, like where you guys can't see it because, we're obviously a podcast, but you can see them. Like Edward has like these eyes, right? That when he looks at Arlynne, it's like, it's like he's just adoring and a little bit, it's like almost a little side smolder too. Like
that is not a side smolder. That is him making like
smolder.
Sexy eyes.
I love it. They're adorable. Yeah. Right? So thankful that you guys are here. And I'm so excited. And again, we are literally 4 days from their wedding. It is going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. They have family and friends coming over. So today we are going to talk to them about what they're excited about, right? In the last few days, things during the planning that they've been kind of talking about, and what were the things that made them excited about the wedding process. What are they anxious about? And we as pros, what can we do to help manage their anxieties?
Tessa, you have spent a year plus with them, like working through every single detail of their wedding, right? And now we are at the wedding door. The door is about to open. In the last few weeks leading up to their wedding, you've been on the phone with them quite a bit. And there's been a few things that have been unexpected. This is something that happens at every wedding. I think for every single one of your clients is that last week, that last 2 weeks, those check-ins like, what if? Today, we're going to talk about those what ifs and how do we manage those so their wedding day will go off without a hitch.
For sure. So, Arlynne and I have had a lot of late night conversations. She has been emailing with my team, and that's what we want to talk about today. How do we prepare you for your wedding day? How do we manage those stressors and anxieties? And how do we make sure that you are still excited for your big day? So let's get started. Welcome to Unveiling Paradise, your go-to destination wedding podcast. I'm Tessa, wedding planner and owner of Fred & Kate Events.
And I'm Joe, wedding and adventure photographer of Joseph Esser Photography. We are based in Hawaii, one of the biggest, most popular locations for destination weddings.
We want to share our real-life experiences with you, give you insight from a professional's perspective, and still make sure you're having fun in the process.
We're huge believers in the fact that planning a destination wedding can be one of the most amazing experiences, and we want to bring you along.
We're so excited to talk with you about weddings, Hawaii, and everything else under the sun.
So pack your bags and let's get started. All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we are taking on this amazing topic with our amazing couple who are about to get married, our pre-wedding brief. Okay, so this is the whole intent of today's show is to put to ease some of the pre-wedding stresses that every single one of our couple experiences that week, the month leading up to their wedding. There are a lot of things that I think a lot of our couples don't see us doing behind the scenes, or even family members who are seeing, maybe it's their child getting married. They don't see those things happening. The conversations that a couple might be having with their coordinator, and even as a guest, all those things that are happening that maybe they don't know about. They show up, have this amazing day. And I think the point of today's show is to take all those anxieties, work through them so that when any of our couples are listening to today's episode, they can say, oh, I'm just as normal as everyone else. Like everyone goes through these things. And us as professionals, the professionals of the room, here's how we try to manage these things. There's some things you can control. There's some things you can't. But how do we, at the end of the day, have an amazing wedding day experience?
It's funny. Last night I was on a call with a bride, and she said something that kind of resonated. Her wedding is coming up. She's got a lot of other stress, but she was asking me, she's like, is this bride stress or is this just normal stress? She's like, I don't know if I'm being irrational at this point. And I think that is what I get from a lot of our couples. Is this normal stress or am I being irrational? I don't want to be irrational. I don't want to go crazy, but am I supposed to be feeling this way? And again, I think this is what we want to talk about. I think, when we kind of had a quick chat with the two of you, it was kind of those things that we talked about, right? Are these normal stressors or are we kind of going over the top? So why don't we start there?
Okay, I love this. Okay, let's start with this. We're going to just elephant in the room. What is like the biggest stressor you guys are facing right now, like a few days before your wedding?
Weather.
Yep. Okay. So for everyone who is not lucky enough to be in Hawaii, the weather's been a little funky this week. We're not going to lie. It has been raining. There were some thunderclouds off the coast, but
there were some thunderclouds on the coast.
There were some thunderclouds over his house.
So weather, guys, like how are you feeling about the weather?
I mean, a lot of things, really. So I grew up leeward side, and I kind of take it for granted a lot, just, how sunny and dry it is over there. Yeah. So when we planned for Lani Kuhonua, especially in May, my vision for the wedding was just, blue skies, gorgeous, maybe a little bit of clouds in the sunset. But with the weather being it is right now, that's everything that we've kind of envisioned is super up in the air.
Okay, so for all of our listeners, their wedding is on the west side of the island, which tends to be the dry side of the island. Usually year round, you don't get very much rain whatsoever. But for whatever reason this week, the whole island looks a little bit different than it normally does. Weather. Okay. So you imagine like blue skies, maybe a little bit of clouds.
Is it more important to know whether there will be weather or what the weather will be?
I'm going to slap you. Cut that out.
So funny. No,
Oh, I stole that from a book.
I mean, besides just, our own vision, just kind of thinking about our guests too. We have our guests who are flying in, their first time in Hawaii. I was really hoping that they could have the really fun Hawaii experience that I was hoping that they can have. And instead there's rain clouds and maybe they aren't going to be able to do the hikes that they want or go to the beaches that they want. And what is the guest experience going to be like at our wedding too? So that's another thing we're worried about.
I want to ask this question to the two of you and also Tessa, like leading up to the wedding, like how have you kind of managed the weather for your wedding? Like, have you done anything in terms of the planning process where you're like, oh, we need tents, or like, what are the contingency plans that you guys have worked out prior to this week?
So, Arlynne called me last week. And again, we were already working through rain contingency with some of my other couples. And I think the nice thing is, right, you are on the drier side of the island. So the chances of rain are less than other parts. It doesn't mean it's zero. So for us, right, we work through the fact that you have a tent. All of the vendors that are outside the tent right now, we have shifted or created a backup layout where some of them are under a hut, some of them are under the tent. So if the weather should get bad, if it does rain, everyone will be covered. We also have umbrellas. So we have umbrellas for the guests. So again, if you choose to get married in the rain, which I've seen and I think it's lovely, and I can let Joe talk about that from a photo standpoint, but it's adorable. If everyone's just kind of sitting close together and hugging their loved ones and enjoying this, I don't think it's the end of the world, right? I always will work with my couples to see, how do you feel about it? How are your guests feeling? And we can kind of adjust from there. But there are so many different ways that we can make sure that your guests still have an amazing experience. It will be different than the original plan, but it doesn't mean it's going to be any less.
Don't put your guests in the rain.
I love it.
So here's the thing I want to say about the weather here. As the resident meteorologist,
You look like a meteorologist, a weather girl.
you can do cute photos in the rain. I think that's fine. But the thing that's interesting about Hawaii is we are on an island and it's predictable a little bit. Even though like this last week, we've had some major heavy rainstorms, you can see it on the Doppler radar and you can wait it out. You can time it. A lot of times you can say, you know what, if we wait 15 minutes, nobody has to be in the rain. I think a lot of times when it comes to weather, flexibility here is like really the key. If you are like, it's a 4:00 start time, maybe you have to push it to 4:15. That's what I think is like one of the things that we do have control over the weather is the timing. And yeah, would you agree with that?
Flexibility is definitely important. We've waited it out. Again, sometimes you can tell by watching the Doppler, and sometimes like this past weekend, you can't. So we have to kind of work together as a team, right? The couple and myself, to make that decision and figure out, do we want to push forward? Do we want to wait? If we do want to wait, how long do we want to wait? If we want to move things, like if we decide we want to do the ceremony in the reception tent, we need some notice. So we cannot wait 15 minutes. We can't wait it out because they're setting for your reception. So there are certain things. Flexibility is so, so important, but it's also understanding that you have to trust your pros, the people that you've leaned to help you make those decisions as best as they can.
We're only planning to do this once, where you guys have done it hundreds of times. So yeah.
Right.
And as the resident meteorologist, I have a few more things to say.
Perfect, Joe. What do you
know
have to
what's
say?
funny is I think that a lot of times our couples also see these really stunning sunset pictures, right? And I think you guys, we've talked about this. Sunset's really important, right? You want to have that. The interesting thing is if you have too clear weather, it's actually horrible for photos. If there is not a single cloud in the sky, it's this, basically the sun is this bright, nuclear ball in the sky that's melting everyone.
It's
right?
basic.
It's real basic. But as a photographer, and I have to tell you, I've had more freakouts about the weather than you, Tessa, as a planner. What's really interesting to me is that some of my most amazing sunset sessions have come from when we say, let's just see what happens. We've got these big clouds in the sky, the sun sets, it lights everything up. And that's when we get those real insane, colorful sunsets. So it's tricky to think, like, what's the weather going to be like? A lot of times I just say, let's just roll with it. And I also want to say this, I think as my pro tip, heaven forbid you don't have a great sunset, right? If it gets rained out, that's just a bummer. When we work with our couples and this is your priority, we figure out how do we make that happen for you guys. When we've had weddings, and it's not very often where, it's rainy or whatever, or it's really gray, what we do is we find another day to get dressed up again and go to that same spot and hit those sunset pictures. Again, I think flexibility is key. If you don't have that epic sunset and you want those photos with the two of you at sunset, how do we make that happen? Well, if you guys are here in town and, we can move it to another day. You can't move your wedding, but you can always schedule a secondary photo shoot a few days after if you have bad weather. And we've done that before.
Okay, so as another professional photographer in the room, here's my thought.
You mean meteorologist?
As a meteorologist, I have done a wedding where it got fully rained out. Everything was rainy. The couple had a blast, but they were dripping wet. They did do a photo shoot, I think about 2 weeks after. They were here for a month. And they were saying it was the best day ever. It was so much less stress. They got to spend time with their family and friends. They weren't running out for photos. They really were just present. And they enjoyed their time without anyone else. At that point, everyone had left. They got dressed up again. They did their hair and makeup, and they just had a blast. So again, like my other meteorologist was saying, there are ways to get what you want. It may not happen when you want, how you want it, but it will happen.
I have to say, though, it's so rare for that to happen. Like a lot of times it's just the stress, I think, that builds up and you're like, what is the weather going to do? What is the weather going to do? And then your wedding day happens. And it's amazing. I mean, it's just part of the stress going into the wedding.
In all the years that I've done weddings, and it's a long time, it's only happened once. Only once.
Twice for me, I'd say.
Let's pretend that one of the weddings was ours, so then it's just 2 instead of 3. Like it was one of our joint weddings, so then it was just 2 ever in our history.
What does that make you feel like if you're stressed about the weather? Like just kind of listening to what we're saying, does that ease any of your stress? Or are you still like, oh, that's nice and all, but like we still are anxious?
Well, as a professional meteorologist, obviously it is good to hear all those kind of things, and we've definitely thought about some of that, but we're inevitably still stressed about things. Like, it's hard to handle when there are things that you can't control, and coming to terms with that, like, in the big scheme of things.
I guess for me, knowing who I am as a person, I'm definitely the type of person who stresses out a lot before anything big happens. But at least historically, I feel like when the day comes, my anxious energy has come out due to stressing a lot right before the event.
You burn it up on the way there. And then by the time we get there, it's like, oh, why was I worried in the first place? It'll be fine. Yeah.
So that's my hope for this. I mean, it's hard when the weather is just kind of consistently, you see it. We see it when we drive. Like we see the weather.
But we also see the clouds that look amazing too, and the potential for magic to happen. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. The clouds are very pretty when they're not raining.
For the record, yesterday was flash floods. That freaks everybody out. But that's not something that happens all day long, all week long. But once you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, that would be horrible.
We were in Ala Moana for the hour when everything was dumping down, and there were waterfalls cascading off all the parking lots and volcanoes coming out of the drains.
Yeah.
Well, but if it makes you feel better, it was not raining at my house once yesterday. So again, it's not consistently everywhere. So now that we have completely freaked you guys out, let's kind of counter that and talk about some of the positives. So, one of the things we talked about is there's a lot of good in the planning process too. So why don't you guys each tell us what was the best part of the planning so far? I want you guys to talk about how you guys connected. You talked about having what your priority was.
Yeah, I mean, so Edward and I, when we started the planning process, we both identified kind of our top 3 priorities for what we wanted during the process. And for me, it was a good photographer.
For me, it was making sure we had a good coordinator that you could work well with.
Yeah, and conveniently, they're both here in this podcast.
It's really awkward if it wasn't me.
Sometimes you settle.
I know. Yeah. We settled, but we're here. And we're less than a week out, so we're going to make it count. So let's talk about it, right? I love that you guys, first of all, got together and talked about what your priorities were. I think going in with a joint vision is important. And I think, number one, I love that Edward's priority really was Arlynne, right? It's not finding a planner coordinator. It's finding someone that would help manage Arlynne's stress and anxieties. And so I'm thankful that you, again, thought of her during the planning process. And for her, it was, again, the photos are a big part of your wedding day. So finding someone that not only does a fabulous job, but also has a great personality for you to mesh with, it really is going to make your wedding day, I think, that much better. And we've talked about it during the planning process, right? As you booked Joe, having him there with his personality, with his skills, like it's just going to make the wedding day that much more fun for you and us.
And it was great for us, too, that we got to do the engagement photo shoot with Job, when was that, October, and really get a chance to work in person with him and get more experience rather than just looking at galleries or speaking over the phone with each other.
Right. You've already established that relationship, that connection with him. So again, when he and his team show up on your wedding day, you already have a foundation. You're not for the first time meeting him, getting to know him, right? It's the relationship has already been built.
Okay,
so October was terrible. Yeah.
Actually, fun story. We just remembered our October photo shoot. It started with rain.
And it was gorgeous, right?
It was gorgeous after we waited for like 15 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah, sometimes it works out. Okay, I want to say this, guys. And this was something that I always come back to when it comes to wedding planning. Weddings are this weird thing where you spend a year, 2 years planning this big day, right? And I always think the reason why you spend so much time working through what vendors to choose, what coordinator will work well with me or my fiance, what photographer will actually see myself in their photos or feel like I'm going to be comfortable in front of the camera. Like you do that so far in advance so that when you actually show up to your wedding day, you've calmed a lot of those kind of stressors. Am I going to get along with the photographer? Are the photos going to look great? I'm so happy you guys liked the photos from our engagement session because like, if you didn't, I was really anxious about going into your wedding. But you know, like having had that experience with me, you don't have that stress on your plate anymore. And I think when it comes to a lot of the things that we do that year out, that month out, the week out, like on your wedding day, you show up and you have the most amazing day. So we obviously had a chance to, you know, have a photo shoot together and everything leading up to your wedding. How's it been like working with Tessa? I'm just curious.
Can I answer? It's delightful.
No, you can't. Are you anxious about like?
Not even a little bit.
They know what the photos look like, but do they know what you're going to do?
I think they do. We'll let them answer though. But yes.
Yes, no. Honestly, we are so grateful to have Tessa. I think so. Tessa was one of the first or the first coordinator.
The first person we interviewed.
The first person we interviewed. And I think even after we had gone on to interview others, I think we immediately kind of felt that bond with Tessa over the phone. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me was Tessa was being real with me. I think we had presented a venue that we were interested in. We presented a budget that we wanted to stick with. And Tessa was like, hold up a minute. But that was something, the fact that Tessa was willing to be real with us at that point was, I think, something that really drew me in terms of seeing her as our coordinator. Because we wanted someone who would be real with us, but also fun and caring. And I think that has really shown through the planning process with Tessa that she's here for us.
Mm-hmm. It's been good to be able to talk with her on the phone every couple months or every month leading up into the end of things here. And even if I haven't talked a lot, I've been quietly listening in the background. I'll chime in with my thank you at the very end.
Edward will pop in. He's like, hi, Tessa. Always there, always present.
I felt very thankful the other night when I woke up and Arlynne was on a call with Tessa, just working through some of the stress about everything. And I was very grateful that Tessa was there for her and that there was someone to help talk her through.
Yeah, you know, to what Edward's talking about. At the last week, Arlynne was sending several emails, which is totally normal. And she was asking, you know, does the check-in helper have to come right at 4 or can she come a little later? What about the seating chart? What about this and that? And you know, the final email was about the weather and just the way it was worded in the, I want to prepare myself for disappointment. You know, I think when I read that and she had just sent the email, it was 9:45 Hawaii time at night. I was at a wedding and my team and I were packing up And I turned and I told my team, like, I have to call Arlynne right now. Like, I don't know if she's okay. I want to make sure that I just check in and let her know because she's clearly awake. She's sending this email. So I said, let me call her. You guys finish packing up and I'm just going to check in. And so again, it was just a quick, what are you worried about at this moment? What can we do? I think she was trying to write an email to her family about shuttles. I'm like, go to sleep, put away your laptop, get yourself in bed. I'm like, I will check in with you in the morning and make sure that, you're okay and whatever I can do to support you. But I'm like, nothing helpful is going to happen at 1:00 in the morning. Nothing good is going to come out of this. So go to sleep. Don't stress about it at this moment. Obviously, I know that weather is a stressful thing. I know that trying to get the last minute details are stressful, but putting yourself through this, staying up all night to push is not going to help. So I did call her just to say, are you okay? Check in with Edward, go to sleep. Have him call me if he needs. You call me. I will call you. And again, I checked in the next morning just to make sure she was okay.
That was, like Edward said, that was a huge help.
Yeah.
I needed sleep.
Sometimes you just don't realize how much you just need sleep.
Sleep is important. All you brides out there listening, please get your sleep.
Exactly.
And grooms.
I want to say this, and I think this is true for every episode that we've ever recorded. Like when you work with a pro, they know how to manage all these last minute unexpected things that happen. Imagine, Arlynne, if you were doing this and you were a DIY bride, right? And you didn't have the support of someone on the ground that's like, okay, hey, you know what? We can do this, or just giving you that guidance of okay, these are the steps we need to take now. These are some things that we can hold off until the weekend or whatever it might be.
That was actually part of where my priority for finding Tessa came from. We had a friend when we lived on the East Coast who also grew up in Hawaii and was planning her own wedding by herself at work, running around madly trying to get everything done. And I did not want that to be Arlynne.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the risk of freaking all of our listeners out, we're really talking about some of these things, these stressors that I think we've been having a lot of side conversations about that I think are really helpful. I think everybody goes through them. I want to just get at one more that we've discussed. And I promise you guys, all of our listeners, these guys are just as excited and just as happy for their wedding. They're not, I think we're talking about some of these kind of heavier stressor things, but their wedding is going to be amazing. Everything is perfectly made for a perfect day. But before we get into all of those things, all the excitement that you guys want to talk about and share, let's just go over one more stressor. What other element of your wedding are you kind of pausing on, feeling a little bit of a burden about right now?
Yeah, I think I touched upon it a little bit talking about the weather, but just we really want our guests to have a good time. Our family and our friends, our loved ones who are coming in, we want them to enjoy the wedding. And at least for me, I feel like to help them enjoy the wedding, to help them stay hyped, I feel like I've kind of had to be on for the past week, 2 weeks. And my worry is just kind of, meeting their expectations, giving them a good time, while also making sure there's time for me and that I'm not performing all the time. I want to feel like I'm enjoying this thing that Edward and I have been working really hard to put together, that we've been working with both you and Tessa to work hard on together. So I guess I'm just worried about finding that balance.
So is that kind of, just to jump in here, is that kind of that feeling, that responsibility to be the host, right? You're hosting everyone, but also wanting to be the guest of honor. It's is that kind of balancing act you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. We're approaching this from the side of the host, but we're also the guest of honor. But how do we do that? These two roles seem so different from each other.
I'm going to make this about me for a minute, Arlynne, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So I completely understand what you're talking about. And I think couples have that pull. A couple weeks ago, I had a party for my team. And again, it's that whenever I throw a party for my team, I don't let anybody help me because I want it to be for them, right? I want them to be honored. I want to show gratitude to them, but I also am the host. So it's always that constant battle. At the end of the day, and this is so me being me, right? After my party, I have debriefed every single person. Poor Joe. I'm like, what did you like? What food? Rank the order. How was the timing? How long were the speeches? Because he made fun of how long my speech was last year. I went even longer this year. So I'm like, how long was it? Do you think I had too many photographers? Was the portrait lounge weird? Like, what did you think? Like, I debriefed everything with every single person. It rained outside, so we had to move in. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, everybody had a great time. Everyone wished it was longer. Everybody wished they could have stayed for more. And so again, it's just at some point, I had to, in my head, understand that as the planner, I did everything I could. As the host, I did everything I could. And at that point, once I got there, I'm like, I have to just be myself, enjoy it, right? You're not just the host, but you're the guest of honor. So it's just enjoying yourself and knowing that you've hired professionals, you're leaning on your family and friends, you're leaning on your hired vendors to create and to execute your vision. We are now the host, not you. It's us. And we're there to make sure that you are the guest. We're going to make sure you're fed. We're going to make sure that you are dancing. We're going to make sure you're drinking. We're going to make sure you're taking pictures. You're staying dry or wet. If you want to dance in the rain, whatever it is, we are going to make sure you have that experience. So on the day of, you're switching from the host supporting role and you are the stars. Our job is to support you.
Yes, that's what we. That's why we have a coordinator.
That's why we have a coordinator. I mentioned this on the way over.
Oh my gosh!
And it's not just me. You know, in addition to my team, you have all of these vendors that literally are there to support you. Every single one of the vendors you've hired are professionals. We all know our place and our role, and it is to support you and your wedding day. You are the guest of honor. We are there to serve you and give you this amazing day. You shouldn't be cleaning up after yourself. You shouldn't be having to watch the timeline. You're not going to be doing any of this. You are going to be getting pampered and taken care of and told where to be and at what time. And you just follow and enjoy yourself and live in the moment.
And just do that. Like, honestly, just do that. It's so funny because we do have weddings every once in a while where I feel like the bride or the groom gets in their own way. I feel like at your own party, you were probably almost getting in your own way, Tessa.
I majorly got in my way. Like, I got in my way so hard. I think halfway through my party, I'm like, what am I doing? You know, let it go. Like, I'm trying to run the timeline. I'm like, why aren't we inside yet? What are we doing? And I'm like, stop. Like, let it go. You know, we had an amazing banquet captain. I did have a day of planner because I just needed help. And I needed to rely on them. That's what they're there for. You know, I'm like, did people get favors when they left? I literally called him the next morning because he left early. He bailed on my party, Joe. But I'm like,
wasn't that it was a bad party? I had to know.
But I was like, but did you get a favor? And he's like, I did. I'm like, oh, okay. So it did happen as I wanted. Perfect. And everyone I talked to got a favor. I made a big deal for no reason, right? I stressed myself out about these things, but it all worked out. Because I handed off. I let it go. And that's what they're there for. And that's what we're there for your wedding day.
Do you have any advice on the day of on how to remind yourself to let go, like in the moment? Because even if you're thinking about this ahead of time, it's easy to let it build up as you're going through the day and everything's getting closer.
Yeah, that's a great question. So on the wedding day, we will have a team member with you. So it will likely be Henry, one of my team, and he is there all day to pamper and follow you around. And he also will aggressively tell you, like, stop looking at your timeline. Put that away. Let it go. We have it. We got you. Where's your veil? Where's your give me your bouquet. Like, he is there to make sure that you're not doing anything, enjoying your moment. And that's what my team does. That's what we do. I will be the one that's yelling at your vendors. Hurry up and set up. We're starting. Or it's raining. Cover it. Or it's not raining. Take it back out. So we all have our roles. Our job is to make it easy. And we will all be there to constantly remind you to enjoy yourself. Okay, so we have kind of talked through, again, what we are anxious about, what you're nervous about. Let's end with what you are most excited about for your wedding day. Why don't we start with Edward?
Well, I think I'm most excited to see Arlynne in the dress finally, because I know how much work she's put into finding someone to do the dress the way that she wants it done and to make it perfect for her for that day. And I've done everything I can to know as little as possible about it.
Have you been peeking? Come on, be honest.
I've not been peeking. I've driven her to all the appointments she needed to go to. I've helped carry things onto planes and off of planes, and I'm not looking at anything.
All right.
He walks out of the room as soon as anyone asks me, okay, tell me about the dress. He like just gets up and walks out. It's
Well,
like, bye.
I keep a pair of earplugs on my keychain. So, yeah.
So, Arlynne, are you willing to put some wagers down on this? Is he going to cry when he sees you in that wedding dress?
I'm pretty sure he's going to cry
Yeah.
multiple times, probably. But
Love it.
He's agreeing too.
There's a lot of suspense buildup. You're driving her to like dress fittings and everything and like not knowing what she's going to look like. Awesome. I love it.
I think the only word I've heard is train, and that's it.
It could still be like a black mini skirt with a train, like
She could be a
purple.
steam engine with like
Yeah.
smoke coming out of her
we
head for all I
don't
know.
know.
Yeah.
She's gonna look beautiful no matter what, though.
It's actually the dress, isn't it? That's
I said too much. Oh, she did show me the picture.
Oh, I didn't actually listen to what you said more. I'm good at tuning everything
earmuffs.
out
Yeah, he's
now.
like, no, nothing. Arlynne, what are you most excited about for the wedding day?
I think I'm just really excited to see all of my friends and family again. I have some friends that I haven't seen in over 10 years who are coming out to this wedding, and just kind of seeing them, like getting to talk with them, but also getting to see them interact with all the other different friend groups and family members who've been precious in my life. So yeah, getting to see them, talk with them, and just, reconnect. It's really special. I was thinking about it. It's like the first and last time we'll have this group of people together in one place. And I really do want to treasure that.
And really, the amazing part, it's that group together, and they're all here for you. Like it's not like, oh, we're coming to a graduation or a reunion, or like they are here to celebrate the two of you. And I think that's so amazing.
Yeah, and everybody's coming from different parts of the planet. You guys have people coming from Chicago and like where?
Seattle, Maryland,
Australia,
Los
China,
Angeles, the Philippines.
yeah.
And I love this. End of the day, that's the biggest takeaway for me is everyone is coming to your wedding to be with you to celebrate your guys' marriage, whether rain or shine. If the seating chart, like burns in a fiery disco ball.
I kind of like to see that.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing. Do we burn a seating chart?
End of the day, though, that's all that matters. And having that time, you will never have this group of family and friends in the same place together ever. It's one of those things that happen at weddings. And just to be able to have that, to be there in those moments, that's always the most exciting part of weddings for me.
Arlynne and Edward, we are so excited for your wedding this weekend. I cannot wait. Is there anything else or any final pieces of advice you'd like to share with anyone listening?
Advice we want to share or questions we have? Either, both?
No, only advice.
Only advice.
We're only
Advice.
giving advice.
Only
No
giving
more. Don't
advice.
stress them out anymore.
I think just talking to each other and listening to each other and being there for each other the whole time. Like, it's hard. You're both stressed out, and you need to be open with each other about what's stressing you out and work on communicating now as much as the rest of the time during your relationship.
And similar vein, but in addition to relying on your partner, just relying again on all the vendors that you hired, your coordinator, all the people who are there for you. Remember that they're there for you. This is something that I struggle with all the time, is letting other people take care of me or allowing other people to take on a burden from me.
We're getting paid, though.
Remember that you're paying them to take on this burden. So get your money's worth. Yeah. But seriously, they're there for you, and make sure that if there is a day that you're going to be selfish and want to have someone to take care of you, it's your wedding day.
All right. Well, we are also excited. We can't wait to pamper you. Guys, I can't wait to have a recap after your wedding. Like, we got to get you guys back on the show and actually talk about how did the day actually come together for you guys? Did all of your wedding day dreams come true? Did the weather work out? Did we have to pivot? Did Edward cry?
We already know that one. We know it's going to happen.
So thanks again for being on the show. And with that, it's a wrap.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful today.
Okay. All right. Tessa, Joe here. Guys,
Hi, guys.
we have to give you an update from the podcast. Okay. Today is Arlynne and Edward's wedding. Guys,
It was rainy.
it was rainy, but
Talk about it. What happened just now?
The most amazing sunset.
And what did we say was going to happen today?
The most amazing sunset.
It's insane. It's so crazy.
The sky was like purple and pink and orange. Literally the nicest sunset I've seen in a couple of years.
So
legit.
I'm quitting photography. I'm going to become a meteorologist.
He really is a meteorologist, you guys. This is exactly what we said. And how do you feel now?
Good.
Yeah?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, we're
Thank
so
you.
happy. Congratulations, you guys. We're so happy for you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Unveiling Paradise.
If you enjoy our show, please follow us and rate us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would really mean a lot.
And don't forget to also get on our mailing list and follow us on Instagram. Just do it already.
Until next time, this is Tessa.
And this is Joe.
And don't forget, your happily ever after
It's just a plane ride away.